The Survivor's Gambit, a grassroots prison survey, catalyzed unprecedented sentencing reform in a punitive state, testing the limits of legal redress for systemic abuse. The genesis of the Oklahoma Survivors Act represents a profound anomaly in criminal justice reform, emerging from a state with the nation's highest per capita execution rate and a long-standing political commitment to harsh punishment.
This legislative breakthrough was not driven by traditional advocacy, but by a clandestine data-gathering operation initiated by April Wilkins, a domestic violence survivor serving a life sentence at Mabel Bassett Correctional Center. Her unauthorized survey of fellow inmates quantified a hidden epidemic, revealing that for many incarcerated women, their crimes were a direct, unacknowledged consequence of prior abuse.
The resulting law, however, creates a petition-based judicial review process rather than automatic relief, placing the burden of proof squarely on survivors and leaving ultimate outcomes to judicial discretion within an unchanged punitive culture.
A legacy of punishment and silence. Oklahoma's status as a national leader in both female incarceration and domestic violence rates created a unique, if grim, catalyst for legislative action. The state's carceral landscape is defined by a stark duality. It consistently ranks among the highest in the nation for rates of women imprisoned and for incidents of domestic abuse.
This systemic overlap created a critical mass of incarcerated survivors whose narratives of abuse were systematically excluded from their legal proceedings, as evidenced by the testimony in Wilkins' own trial, where pleas for help were met with official indifference. The mounting financial and human costs of mass incarceration provided a rare political opening, recognized by attorneys Colleen McCarthy and Leslie Briggs, who connected the state's fiscal pressures to the unmet justice for abuse survivors.
Their strategic insight was to frame the issue not solely as a moral imperative but as a pragmatic correction to a failed legal process, setting the stage for Wilkins' pivotal insider activism.
The survey as subversive evidence. The clandestine questionnaire weaponized lived experience into a compelling statistical argument, bypassing official data voids. Wilkins' decision to conduct an unauthorized survey within Mabel Bassett was a high-stakes act of evidentiary creation, undertaken at risk of disciplinary action.
The survey methodology and formal distribution in the rec yard and chow hall was necessitated by the absence of any official state data tracking the nexus between domestic violence victimization and subsequent criminalization. The collected stories revealed consistent patterns: crimes of failure to protect children from an abuser, or offences committed under direct coercion and threat, where the abuse was the primary, unexamined contextual driver.
This grassroots data collection transformed anecdotal whispers among lifers into an aggregate, undeniable testimony, providing the empirical foundation that allowed advocates to move beyond sympathetic narratives to a concrete demonstration of systemic oversight within the justice system itself.
A conditional victory with unclear horizons. The Act's petition-based structure ensures its impact will be determined by judicial interpretation, creating a post-reform battlefield of implementation. The Oklahoma Survivors Act is a legislative compromise, offering a mechanism for relief rather than a guarantee of it.
Its success hinges on the ability of incarcerated survivors, often without robust legal resources, to convincingly demonstrate that domestic abuse was a substantial contributing factor, a legally nebulous standard to a potentially skeptical judiciary. The primary risk is that the law becomes a symbolic gesture, with few successful petitions, if courts apply the same punitive logic that filled the prisons initially.
The strategic next step must be rigorous monitoring of petition outcomes and the development of a specialized legal defense framework to navigate the new process. The long-term projection is one of contested progress, where the law's true efficacy will be measured case-by-case, testing whether a system built on punishment can authentically incorporate the complex realities of trauma and survival.